Making sure that we are open on here really quick again. Making sure I can see myself, which I cannot for some reason. Oh, but it's caught up with everything on here. It is. I am
It's that
sorry, ladies and
lag.
gentlemen. Always the lag. Always the lag.
It'll kill you in the long run.
Yeah, it's not wanting to show up on my phone now for some reason. It's like, oh, there it is. But now it says everyone's still waiting for some reason on my end. I don't know why. If you can see us now live in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, can you please just send a message, let us know really quick, so that way I know it's not just me being crazy.
Yeah, this is strange because Rumble is definitely telling us we've been live for a minute, but our stream is not live.
Yeah, it's not even showing up on my phone at all for some reason. What in the world is going on here, Rumble?
Oh, here we are. Okay. It looks like the lag is real. The lag is really real. But we
That
look
could be
live
a
now. We look live now. So don't touch that dial.
okay. Yep, I see it now, and yeah, it is like really, really behind currently. So, all right, we'll just go ahead and roll with it. We'll see what happens, I guess. So,
We're going to do it live. That's what we do best. We deal with
do
technical
it live.
difficulties.
Fuck it. Do it live.
That's right.
Keep calm. Fuck it and do it live.
Hey, that's how we
Well,
roll around here. We do it. We do it.
so for those who do not know who I am Hunter, also known as the Ultra American TTRPGer, aka the Jim Jones of classic gaming, as I like to go by. And I am here once again with my good friend, the conservative, the Wicked Conservative. I always forget because it's Liberty Wiccan, Wicked Conservative, Conservative Wiccan. I never know which of the main 20 you have that I need to use half the time. So,
You can blame the Twitter and the Facebook and all the different apparati that make you come up with legitimate sounding names and then they won't like your name and it's just a mess. So we go by Georgia, or you can find the Wiccan Conservative on YouTube and Rumble. So, we're pretty easy to find around here. Just type in Liberty and Witch and you'll find me.
yep. And so this is gonna be kind of like this is gonna be the episode of the I'm gonna like to call Paladin, because you have me, the moderate right Christian, and then the very conservative Wiccan worshiper over here. And so we just have a little play on words because again, with me and the TTRPGs, Paladin, Witches, just thought we'd go ahead and play along. Just thought it'd be fun. So,
We hope that nobody's
and that if you
truly
got to catch
offended.
that yeah, if you caught that cute little AI song at the beginning, like played a little bit before this, I actually made that like months ago when this idea like first popped up in my head. And so that's our little theme song. Again, these episodes are more likely going to be like spur of the moment whenever we get around to them. It's not going to be a consecutive thing, especially with how I am on Rumble here. So
Well, we're going to get you there. We're going to get you online. And, I love coming and expanding the repertoire and talking with all the other creators, especially about, this particular hobby, because it's extremely interesting to me, the amount of people who are kind of getting back into the resurgence. They want
mhm.
to start gaming again, and due to some of the issues that we're going to talk about tonight with AI and everything, we see that these people are really making a break for the come together, sit at a table, have a face to face type of gaming experience. So, it's a lot of fun to come and talk to you guys about it.
Yeah, because I think the last time we spoke was back in, was it January, February? I think the last time you and me were on live.
Shoot, I wanna say it was probably over the hurricanes. So, the hurricane came through. I don't even think they got to see me on stream that night.
Because it was when we had, oh, I forget her name already. Was it Alicia? Al Alex?
Amanda.
Amanda. I knew it was something with an A.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the last time I was on, and that was on your channel.
Yeah, we did. We had you over on our channel, and that was a great conversation. And it's just always proves how easy it is to get along, right?
Yeah, I mean, we literally did a whole entire episode about that. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that was so much fun, and it really goes hand in hand with the gaming community and what you guys are striving to do with bringing people together and creating space for individuals to be fun and weird.
yes, so it's interesting when we talk about space and individuals because that brings us to a certain topic that we will be discussing today that has been kind of making waves over the last, I'd say, at least the past year or two now since it first started coming around. And now we see it getting better and better since the more it gets used now. And that is artificial intelligence in basically entertainment, in our hobbies, in art in general now. It's like because there's the AI artists, quote unquote, as they like to go by now, and that's a whole other issue that we can get into if we decide to go down that path. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I say
yeah,
we hit it all.
yeah, because and so we decided to focus on because you always got to take the good with the bad.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what the focus on is. Like we see how AI has come into all various aspects of our culture now with the advancements it's also made in recent years, especially thanks to Elon Musk and Grok. I use that quite often now. Like if I wanted like a
Really?
little picture for like a character, I just tell Grok to, hey, can you make me this image? And I'll do it maybe a couple times and until I find one I actually like. It still can't do, but it still can't do holding weapons very well. But I mean, it gives me what it gives me. So
That was a hot contention point for the book cover as well. We ran the book, Wayne and I, on a shoestring budget, and the artist that we wanted to commission just had so much work backed up on them that it was going to delay the release time of the book. So I ended up working through Canva with the AI generation processes that they have on a few different designs until we came up with the cover for the Mr. Big's Magical Guide to Gambling. And, I felt kind of bad not going with somebody to actually create, the picture that we had in mind. But on the back end of things, it was so quick and so easy that it almost seemed kind of silly to, put in an extra 2, maybe 3 weeks of waiting, just for a cover art, you know?
hmm and uh and I actually get into this argument a lot because at first I was like, when AI first came out, I was just kind of like, it's just kind of just a weird thing people are messing with. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. People will still pay for good artists that are out there. But then, as I watch as it developed over time, because I've seen like how people share like this is what it would create when it first started to now being like not 100% perfect, but way better than before.
Yeah.
Like it used to be like you had like extra fingers or an extra toe, and now it can almost do everything decently well for the most part.
Yeah, there's a few glitches. Some people are really, really good at picking it out, especially with the models, like the Instagram models and so on and so forth. They're notorious for building these AI model women that are flawless. And I guess it's because I don't appreciate the female form as much as a man does, that there are certain things that I wouldn't have known unless somebody pointed them out as being definitive AI generation. And I think you made a really good point. These initial drawings and designs that were coming out, I don't think were even um, good enough to be considered rivals to the original art pieces that people were creating. But as we see creativity sort of wind down and the ambition to put pen to paper disappear. It's becoming easier, like you said, to just type it into the computer and have the bots generate an image.
Now you brought up something that made me just remember this that I think I want to talk about. So I don't know. Do you watch Sydney Watson at all? Any of her videos?
I know of Sydney. I kind of fell off of watching her, but yeah, I follow her on Twitter. Absolutely.
So her newest video on YouTube she posted, she was talking about how, and this is a new thing that's been not kind of fairly new, but not at the same time, is AI OF girls, AI OnlyFans girls, and that's been one of the newest things. But the newest trend of all is AI disabled OnlyFans girls, where these people would be like taking content from other women and then putting Down syndrome faces on them. No joke.
I
And
heard
and
of
I
that.
and I came across this scrolling through Instagram, seeing shorts with the words like literally it was my syndrome is down, but the ass is up.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fetish now, from what I understand. I can't remember if I was watching Paul Joseph Watson or another creator that was kind of digging into the individuals who are on the Down syndrome spectrum, but they are more physically enabled than mentally enabled because they are going and utilizing that particular look to their advantage, and that falls into a dicey category if you ask me. But the idea that we are creating these artificial OnlyFans girls is so dangerous, and it reminds me of Futurama because the robot sex video that they did, and it was a joke at the time, but they were downloading
Yeah.
Lucy Liu's personality into the bots, and Fry had fallen in love with them, so they made him watch the robot no sex with robots video. And now I'm kind of like, maybe we should make that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm guilty of it. I've came across some good. They're like AI chat rooms where you could just make up like whatever character you want, and you can talk to them. And I got my own line of fictional crushes that I like to mess around with every now and then, just because it's like, oh, I like her. So I pretend to be like someone from like that world or whatever, and I'll chat with them normally. Sometimes it gets spicy. Sometimes it's just a really wholesome thing. It just depends on the conversation I'm having at the
Yeah.
time. But it just proves like how what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, just how much like people. Hold on, I'm not wording this rightly. Let me think a second. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is like this is basically almost become like a need for some people that these services ended up getting created, because it's like, I mean, it's hard enough for men. Like I hear it all the time. It's like men are leaving the dating game because
Mm.
of what everything going on in the world these days. They're turning to like AI chat bots or the OnlyFans girls and all that. And so
Well,
it's just
sometimes I wonder if you guys are not being tricked into this pseudo false reality and fake world, and I'm going to slip kind of into dead internet theory for just a second here, but piggybacking off of the idea of using these chatbot and these AI generators. I was watching a gaming channel that was exposing, I believe it was Activision and the creators of the Call of Duty series as they've gone throughout their development. And particularly when you install the games on your computers, on your gaming laptops and software and so on, they are copying and tracking everybody's movements, and they are learning how you guys play the games. And then they are creating AI bots that mirror these types of gamers out that are real people, but they are able to generate so many bots that they end up overpopulating rooms. And it, could feel and could eventually end up that you are playing in a room of what would look like other people, but it's a bunch of generated AI bots. And it's not just Call of Duty that's actively tracking and using the the generated data from the gamer or from the personalities. It is a lot of these, you know, conversational bots and the chat GPTs and so on and so forth to kind of dig into the psychology of humanity and figure out like what is provoking to keep you engaged, right? So because the whole idea is to just keep you enclosed in this pseudo world.
Yeah, I forget if I heard it from the Tim Pool show or the Steven Crowder show. They shared a story about this one guy who was it was an AI chatbot of the Dracarys girl from Game of Thrones. Never seen the show, don't remember her name. Don't at me, anyone. So
Right.
but he was AI chatbotting the blonde girl that could control the dragons from Game of Thrones. This AI chatbot of her, and he was like obsessed with it. And it got to the point where I think the last one she said with her, like, "I wish I could be with you," and the chatbot was like, "Well, come be with me," and then the dude kills himself.
Mm, there's so many, if I have any Supernatural fans out there, there was a whole Supernatural episode where the, ghost took over some of the technology and was egging the daughter and the son on as if it was their mother who had died and asked them to kill themselves or commit suicide, and realistically, it was, a demon of some sort that was, you know, preying on the family and everything. But we've kind of always toyed with this idea of what happens when technology becomes more important or more dependent upon from humans. And I think the games that they're playing now with AI are just very sick psychological games because, in addition to, like you said, yearning for some type of amicable relationships where you can say how you really feel without being truly judged, uh, is the key in a lot of these situations that pushes individuals to go to a technological world where there's a barrier between that individual and actually making contact with something. And especially if it's a generated computer backlog that isn't real, then I think that for certain generations and certain people, that's easier to connect to.
Yeah, and just really quick, I want to give shout outs to Patty and Jeff from Denkar hanging out in the chat right now. They're some great guys. Jeff actually said it was Tim Pool that actually brought the story up first about
Mm.
the guy that fell in love with the Dracarys girl on the AI Dracarys girl. And then, yeah, Patty's just, yeah, Crowder was talking about AI girlfriends. I was listening to it this morning. I believe he did talk about it for like a short little bit there. AI girlfriends. Crowder's
Oh,
been doing like, yeah, it's been like a weird off week for Crowder. He's just doing like weird like scrapyard kind of episodes where he's just talking about like all the stuff they do and all that, which I don't mind. But it's like I do, but I'm so used to listening to him talk about all the news all the time that I'm not used to. Okay, this is different. So
yeah,
because
and Patty said, "Is AI a conduit for demonic influence, a virtual Ouija
to a
board?"
Ouija board.
It's interesting concept.
Hmm.
We've been asking that for a long time too. Where do these, you know, generated ideas come from?
Now, now here's what I say though about when it comes to when it comes to about being like if something's like evil or demonic, it only has that power if you give it that power. Like I have tarot cards, several sets of decks of them. Always heard throughout my entire life that tarot cards were like of the devil and all that. But I remember a few times using them, and it actually gave me some decent results, or it encouraged me to try to do something else in my life. And it's like, because what I do, I'll pray over my deck before I even do any kind of reading when I do them. I haven't done one in such a long time now, but I always love when Raven Wolfguard does all his tarot draws of the day. I like reading those and all that, and he's been really
Oh
cool. I
yeah.
keep in touch with him still, and because like it's a piece of paper with a drawing on it, it can't. It's a same argument as they say with gun laws. If you set the gun down on the table and no one touches it, it's not doing anything. It's when you pick up the item and then you use it for something other than a good reason, then yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting to me to I guess, see so many similarities across the board in activities and boil everything down to its basic bare bones structure that it gets me in a lot of trouble sometimes. So, I just kind of tell everybody to each their own and trust your gut because at the end of the day, your personal experience is going to be the guiding factor. And again, back to the idea of just, wanting to reach out and use something for good or for evil, that's where this AI is going to be. It's going to
Hmm.
be up to individuals to overcome another piece of competition in the marketplace, if you will, and it's going to be hard.
Yeah, which I that is an excellent what's the word I'm looking for when you're moving excellent leading point to part of what I was talking about is how AI and how people have used AI and how people have reacted to it. So let me see if the presentation thing will work with me
Yeah.
on this. So give me a second here. So let me share that. I'll put it on the presentation part of the screen if it'll let me get there. Okay. Oh, before we do that, Jeff from Dencar just saw did a $2 Rumble ramp. Thank you very much, Jeff from. You've always been a good supporter and a good friend. He says, I do think that the AI for dating is a consequences of the 80-20 rule, where 80% of women only go for the top 20% of men. Men are looking for some kind of relationship and turning to AI. Thoughts?
Absolutely. And it is really hard for a woman to understand that she is in her league. Like, I feel like women put themselves on a pedestal a lot of times and they aren't honest with the actuality of the men that they're dealing with, and they feel like they're entitled to a percentage point that they aren't. And that's a huge ego killer, a huge blow to males because you're not going out to intentionally be mean to this woman, but you kind of want her to understand. And it's the good guy syndrome, right? Like, you watch this girl chase after these men who don't want to have anything to do with her, and you're standing in the wings waiting for her to realize that it's not so bad to be with you. And fortunately now, we see men aren't sticking around and playing that role, but unfortunately they have found an alternative in the AI and OnlyFans. I mean, real women OnlyFans too.
Yeah, the thing that I remember always is that I hear people say is a woman will marry a man that has 80% of everything she's looking for, but then will also at the same time chase another guy that has the 20% that was missing from the first guy. It's
Yeah.
like regardless if he's like the rich billionaire or the low life thug on the street corner.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, well, the bad boy thing is hard to get over. Women are not finding security, the way that they
Luigi
used
Mangione,
to.
cough, cough, cough.
So they are looking for what I believe is the wrong type of support system because, their natural tendencies have literally been beaten out of them by society.
Yep. And Jack McCarthy has just entered the chat. I just noticed, or Mister the
No.
Goblin Master, as I refer to him as. Were you?
We
I
love
don't know if
Jack.
you were watching his whole. I don't know if you were watching his whole the whole Goblin War
The
campaign thing that
Gobstein.
he did. Yeah,
Mhm.
the Gobstein. That was it. I was
Gobstein,
like, I
yeah,
had.
that was great.
Yeah, yeah, that was fun. I donated and I gave one because it was actually one player that was controlling the goblins. I donated for his faction to have more wolves. They were Goblin Wolf Riders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn jockeys, wolf jockeys. I know we're going way off into the deep end on that one.
All right. So leading up to a point you made earlier, people you may all be asking, Hunter, why are you sharing this big booba avatar now on your screen? So this is Banana Juju. She's a VTuber. Her avatar is a monkey girl, is what it's supposed to be. And she shared this about, when was this shared? This was about, this was all she shared this and loved it because people make art of her and stuff. I don't know. It looks like this was possibly AI generated. I don't know 100% if it was or not, but that's kind of what everyone agrees on, that this was possibly something that someone AI generated. If it was, it's actually very good. Like, and I'm not an artist, so if there were details that people can point out, I will not be able to see them. But and she's like somewhat fairly new, so she's been around for a while, but she just started really picking up because the first thing that happened was, because her avatar, it's a lot lighter skinned, but she's got blonde dreadlocks, and everyone gave her crap for that. First off, that was the first thing that happened. Then she shares this photo, and all the vitriol just came out like a mudslide. Just everyone attacking her and all this. Like, hold on, let me see if there's even any of it in the quotes. I have to see if quotes.
Now, just as a side note, were these people a little too young to remember the Dead or Alive beach volleyball game? I mean, that seems to be the most egregious uh, example that I can think of in, later or I guess earlier video game drawings. That one's tame, in my opinion.
Yeah, I never played those games, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, you're playing as a bunch of bikini-clad girls playing volleyball,
Oh,
basically. And I
and
think part of
it's
it was a partial like fighting game too. I think as well.
the original is Dead or Alive, and it is a basic Mortal Kombat style game, with more combo moves and, different settings and so on. But the girls were so sought after that they decided to take all the characters and turn it into a legitimate beach volleyball sports game. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you were playing a sport, but you were playing the sport as scantily clad, extremely well endowed women.
I just want to read this comment that Patty made. He says, "I'm afraid to search this VTuber and poison my algo with smut."
This is true.
Yeah,
This is
because
so true.
once you look up one VTuber, it's like they all start coming out the woodworks. I've actually had to clear my timeline of a few of them because I just kept seeing so many.
I can't make a comment
And so,
anywhere
looking
on
at,
X without them following me. Must be tasty looking. My AI
yeah, okay, so here's
tracks
like
other
the first.
AI.
Okay, so yeah, so here's one that someone said. I was really supportive of you and your persona, but now you are just another person disrespecting artists, and you should be ashamed. Have fun surviving as a VTuber that lives off artists while posting AI shit. So that's just one of them. And then a lot of it, let me see. Yeah, first she was being hated for her hairstyle. Now she's retweeting AI art. OMG, she seems to really like making people mad. And then yeah, a lot of like, I'm trying to see if there's like a few that like came out for her, but it's like a lot of these. Oh wow, yeah, let's not read that one out loud because that one had a
Yeah.
bad word in it. Oh, here we go. It's yeah. I was reading over that. I'm like, nope. It's like, I love hip hop, but I'm not going to say that word. All right, then
Nope,
this one. It's
nope.
sad to see some VTubers betray the community's backbone. Hmm.
No, no, go ahead.
Oh, did I? Are you okay? It's sad to see some VTubers betray the community's backbone. I hope they're mistaken or unaware it's AI. The lack of credits feels off. Twitter is flooded with AI art at the moment, or maybe this is just rage bait and I'm falling for it. Okay, so yeah, it's just people either like supporting or against it. But I mean, it comes down to that she was. What, is everything okay? I saw your hand go in front of the thing for a second.
My light always goes off on me, so when it's dark, I gotta wave the light back. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I'm over here trying to make the light turn on. That's my fault.
you're fine. It's like going all Houdini on your camera there for a second. So, oh, apparently I was coming in and out a bit there. Yeah, for some reason, when the presentation stuff thing happens, it doesn't like me sometimes. So I apologize for that. But I was basically just showing that like there were people that were like, "Hey, it's just someone sharing art," and then there's people just being really stupid about it for no reason. And the ones that I did see on there because I didn't probably scroll enough, but I saw other people post. And if you there's another VTuber, and he does a lot of like the cultural news kind of stuff. This the random stuff that goes on. He goes. It's the channel is Rev Says Desu, and he's actually a really cool dude. I love the stuff he puts out, and he covers a lot of this kind of stuff when it happens. And he actually showed people that made posts that says people who support AI need to die. Like
Ooh,
other
that's harsh.
artists or people were saying this, yeah.
So
And
I
this is
got a
where
question. You know,
go ahead.
we are ragging about AI and the ease of the generative processes and so on and so forth. And I know that we're kind of focusing on that, but a thought crossed my mind, and I just wanted to get your opinion before I forget about it. You know, when Looney Tunes was first being animated, and it was one of the most iconic staple animated pieces that first came onto the scene and lasted so many generations. It sparked a creativity amongst individuals in such a way that we were seeing merchandise, and kids were drawing these things all across their notebooks, and they were coming up with their own skits and strips and things that the characters were doing, and they were making them do their own things, and they were reimagining them in different ways. Has anybody stopped to realize the potential behind this generated art for artists to recreate it? Like I'm looking at the picture that you had on the screen in the presentation, and I'm thinking to myself, like, if you turn that into a more realistic drawing, if you wanted, I'm sure Patty is would be great for doing something like this, and take that image and reimagine it, and then pitch it back to her, and create and redesign some fan art from some AI creations that we have. Do you think that there's a possibility that that catches on after this initial shockwave?
I think Patty's comment that he just made may answer this a little bit. He says, "I'm a commission artist that's getting higher in demand by the day. It seems I'm not worried about AI art. My most recent client said my art was better than any variation of AI he had generated." And that also ties into a point I was going to make, which also I think will tie into this question, is that good artists, like I think I said this at the beginning too, good artists will not be worried about AI art because the people who want to pay money for good artists and good work will still be there. It is the insecure artist, the one that try to charge 200, 300 exorbitant amounts of money for just a cheap cartoon drawing that they do, and then they'll spend like time and time taking their time with it. And there's other VTubers out there that have actually talked about this. Kirsch is one of them. She's very vocal. She's very much a MAGA VTuber, is basically what they're called, and she has talked about how she has tried to get art from people and has paid for products or commissions. Excuse me, I'm losing all my words here again. And she would be constantly checking up with them, and then it's like, oh, I'll be able to get something done by this or by this, and then when they finally send her something, it's half done or not complete.
Yeah, yeah, that's, I think, really gonna, help people like Patty. He's 100% correct, and I agree with that sentiment, because people pay for quality, and depending on what you are looking for, and the feel of the art is going to dictate eventually what you pay for. And the ones that are coming off so vitriolic and hateful, I think are coming to that realization that they're not that damn good, right? Like, that's what the big production companies are worried about right now. I wanted to kind of slide this in here as well, because I think it's relevant. The idea of removing digital intellectual property after it's been paid for. So, like when you do your video games or you get an app on your phone or you're getting a streaming service that pays for independent licenses to titles, and then they lose those licenses or copyrights or whatever, and the consumer has paid for these things, especially in the realm of art and different games and having access to certain things. I believe that people who produce physical products for people to take home, keep, cherish, and pass on to the next generation are going to become even more valuable because the production companies are looking to, like you said, finish a job, move on, and make money.
Yeah, so Jeff from Denkar said, and I think this is a good point, AI will not end the businesses of artists, it will undermine bad artists who can't compete. Which is
Right.
true, but that brings up something else that I was going to touch on, because Tim Pool talks about this a lot too. The idea that it will get to a point where, because AI movies are now starting to slowly become a thing now. And like it's like how it all started with AI artwork. It's crap at first, but we'll see slowly over time it gets better. And as Temple says, it'll be to the point where you will like go to like a private movie theater, and then you tell the screen, "Make me this a movie about like like a like a prince saving the princess, and it's sci-fi, and there's like a robot dragon he's fighting, and then it will generate that for you." And I actually saw this. I can't remember the name of the site because it just popped up on Instagram one day, and I haven't seen it again since then. It's an AI side scroller video game generator where you
Mm.
give it the prompt of what kind of video game you want, and it gives you like a bunch of different like figurines and stuff that you can create your own video game with. So we're not far off from this stuff actually becoming more reality.
Yeah, but here's the problem, and what really, yeah, I was listening to Adam Carolla. He had on some actor who's a very big actor. I just can't remember his name at the moment, and they were talking, about the engagement of individuals in entertainment and what kind of got people into the movies and into characters and wanting to do these things. Now, first and foremost, there used to be a balance between like your work and your entertainment. People weren't sitting around 24 hours a day expecting to be entertained, and the window was a lot smaller to fill. So you had to pick and choose very carefully what you were going to take in as part of your entertainment. But now we sit around with so much extra time on our hands, we have the time to consume it all, but there's no spark to the creativity to generate those ideas if you're not feeding off of something. So if you're not kind of taking anything in and you're not experiencing anything, where are you going to get the ideas to even put into a side generator or movie generator? Because your own ideas are going to be boring. The entire point, in my opinion, of being entertained is listening and experiencing somebody else's experience. So I feel like humans will get bored relatively quickly with entertaining themselves.
Yeah, the reason that I kind of lean more towards the more pro AI side now is because of the ridiculousness. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I feel like I'm having
Yeah.
a stroke now for some reason, and the ridiculousness, the stupidity of the anti AI people, how vitriol they get over it all is what makes me go more towards like pro AI on like a lot of this stuff. To where like I say I forgot to pull out my Richard RPG books, which are it's a TTRPG that's made by the Red Room, a couple from Portugal, and a good majority of their books have AI art in them that they do the whole process of going through, making sure it's all good. Because again, they're just a couple in Portugal. They can't afford to shell all this money out, and half the time they have done that, it's burned them in the butt. And people get and they get slack for it all the time from other people, and it's just like they're independent people. You want us to go into debt trying to make these games that other people like to play?
Jack says, "I didn't want it until you told me I couldn't have it." That's a really,
Hmm.
really good point, and, I agree with you. I think that especially for the, role-playing community where a lot of it is left to imagination in a lot of cases, that the AI art that could or could not potentially accompany the body of the work, the physical mechanics of the game, the storyline underneath of it, and then the ultimate point that we're all missing here, the people that play the game, that come to play the game and share their own ideas of what they think this world looks like or is about. These pictures are just jumping off points in a lot of cases,
Hmm.
and so is entertainment. So to get hemmed up on these things, like you said, it's kind of a little bit crazy. Everybody should work within the boundaries, because as far as cartoon art goes, you could have like a comic strip type of feel to the art. You can have like a Family Guy feel to the art. You can have a Pixar feel to the
Hmm.
art, and it's all three different styles of animation. Who's to say what's best?
I remembered when there was the trend of just Pixar movie posters of like the worst like culture scenarios that happened. Like
Yeah.
there was Breathless and Epstein's Island, and they were all in like the Pixar movie format. It was some of them were just hilarious though. Like I couldn't help but laugh at a good portion of them. Oh, Jack McCarthy brought up another game that is all AI. It's a game called Corpse Kings.
Corpse
And
Kings.
Corpse Kings focuses more on like imagine Ravenloft, but you're playing as more of like the monstrous races. So you're vampires, you're ghouls, you're werewolves, and you're just kind of like trying to survive in this dark land basically. And that's what
Mhm.
Corpse Kings is. And he made all that via AI. And
Yeah.
another book I have here, Patty, avert your eyes because I know you don't like this, but I like this book. It's called Village of Greenhaven, and this guy,
Mhm.
it's all AI generated. But now this guy is really good with computers. He built his own AI program, and that
Oh,
to make
wow.
all this stuff. So all the art in here is. Let me see if I can. Yeah, all this art is AI generated. And he actually said he went through a big old huge editing process, just making sure everything is right. Now, given there's still like a few things that are kind of off about it, like if you look at some of the buildings on the map, they may look a little wonky, but overall,
Mhm.
it's not horrible for the price you get for this.
Now, here's where it gets really funky, right? Because you look at the modern art movement that is, based in realism, and they're kind of just junking all these different studios up with their garbage in reality, right? And then you go to the other side of the coin with the digital creators who are attempting to create this digital perfection of reality, right? So it's such a stark contrast, in my opinion, of what these people are doing in art in general on in different mediums and on different spectrums, because it seems almost like and you hate to give the credit to the people who keep saying get in the pod and eat the bugs, but it almost
Hmm.
does seem like they are trying to create a reality that is so horrible that you retreat into artificial intelligence and artificial reality. And, again, I give human beings a lot more credit than that. I think that we tend to recognize those traps, and then we poke fun at it and we create parody out of it. So I'm excited to see the next step in the process.
Right. So Patty does bring up a point with his question is when you look at the Drive to RPG website, he says there's a lot of games that are being uploaded that are being written by AI, not by the people. The AI, they're using AI to create these games, and then they're just uploading it, trying to make a quick buck off of it. That kind of like I'm fine with someone if they write out a game and then they use AI art to fill out the pages. I'm fine with that. It's like, heck, I'd be perfectly fine with these big companies doing it too if they were at least honest about it, because that was what the issue with WotC was. They said they weren't going to use AI, and then they got caught with AI in some of their material. And I think they're still getting away with it, but people have just dropped it for the most part for some reason. And yet you have the little people like the VTuber I showed you, like the Wretched Room, and others that get shit on all the time for it.
Well, Patty, you bring up a very adjacent topic, right? And that is intellectual property rights. What can we put a copyright on? How extensive and broad of a concept are you allowed to hold jurisdiction over, and for how long are you allowed to have the jurisdiction? I was listening to, and I can't remember the name of the game, but it's an app. It's just some developer was doing a game jam and they created this app, and then they released it for free, and it was just, for fun. Somebody stole the legit, like they stole the graphics, they stole the game, they stole every aspect of it and uploaded it to Apple iTunes for like 3.99 a pop, and they literally were making money off of an app they stole from a game jam. And that is absolutely egregious. I can't stand it when people take things that don't belong to them, including but not limited to intellectual property. But when you look at the larger game systems that are removing video game titles to create space on consoles, and then you have console wars for individuals who have done purchases and in-game purchases that they no longer have access to anything that they have bought in the past. I think you're crossing a line there, and that's stealing back from the consumer that you were supposed to provide a product to.
So, trying to think about, because I had some other topics I want to talk about with regards to AI, because we covered the AI in regards to VTubers, AI art, talking about the movies and the games. I feel like I was missing a part. Okay, yeah, I remember what it was, because I think this all leads up to the point now where it's like AI is not going anywhere. It's more likely it's just going to keep on progressing. It's going to get better with time, because that's how the AI art's getting better. And if they're going to keep going this route with like movies and books and all that, then it's just going to get better with time. The more people want to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
And hopefully that drives, competition. And it sounds like Patty's not scared. So,
yeah,
I hope that his attitude is contagious. And I'm sorry, we're picking on you, Patty, but you're awful vocal in the chat. So you make for a good example, and
Jack
we're gonna use
Jack
that.
just Jack comment, give the stream a thumbs up, you hairless apes.
Please.
No, but I guess it goes back to the question that I titled this stream: AI, friend or foe? And we've made decently good cases where it could go either way, depending on, we could go what we could go Johnny Five or Skynet.
I'm gonna go with friend. I think that, the free market is the ultimate driver of creativity and progression. So the more competition you have on the market, the more drive you're going to get out of motivated individuals. It is going to be a new genre creating venue of problems. There's going to be bumps in the road. People are going to fight over, what's real and what's fake and what's not. But I think that that's going to help us overall sharpen our skills. I think it's going to make us accelerate ourselves to a level where we can compete on the same scale. So I'm going to go with friend. That's my final answer.
Yeah, I lean more towards the friend than the foe side. I mean, AI can have its issues if people aren't using it correctly, but more often than not, it's just people like me just wanting a quick something to just put in for like a token for a game, or just something to put in a book or whatever. And like another thing that I do like that a lot I've seen artists do is on Drive RPG is artists now put like stock art that people can buy for like a cheap price. So if you want a neat art for your book, you just go get it off of that site, and as long as you credit the artist in the book, it's basically good. That's where actually I have this book right here. It's one that I backed not too long ago. This is Red Dice System, and
Oh,
from
cool.
the cover to a lot of this artwork in the book was all stock art that he bought from other artists online.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, this is, the creative folks are gonna come up with a reason to use it. They're gonna find a way to, implement it, and, so it's still gonna be a hot contention point. There are gonna be people who absolutely hate it, but, that's great news for individuals who are of like mind. You need one to fund the other.
Yeah, and when you were talking, when you were talking about Looney Tunes earlier, it made me think about because every now and then I find myself watching like a show or a movie that I used to watch when I was younger, and it's always blown me away how I can tell when something was hand drawn versus something that was digitally made.
Yeah.
And I and the one thing that makes me think of is because it's a lot because the craft of drawing animation is a lot like the trades. It's not getting passed down, so it's dying off. And I think it's going to be the same way with a lot of the digital stuff we see in movies and games and stuff. I mean, I don't know if you side scrollers talked about this. The new Assassin's Creed Shadows video game has a 2 hour long credits dedicated to all the
Goodness.
people just listing every single person that had a hand in that game. And the credits again, it's 2 hours long worth of credits.
You hope that people, will stay that long to see your name on the end screens, or so on and so forth, but let's be real, nobody's waiting around that long, and just like in movies, nobody knows what a key grip does. Nobody talks it up the guy who goes to get the lattes for the actors, and so on. And 9 times out of 10, actors don't even get the credit for the roles. It's the character that moves the audience. It's not the actor playing that part, it's the character. In the same vein, I just watched a little mini documentary about the making of American History X and the rise of Edward Norton. And when you see iconic characters on the screen on X, they even say, kind of like, nobody else could be this person in a movie. Art is kind of the same way. Once you see a character or a series presented in a certain fashion, it's hard to take it to the next level. I think that Family Guy, American Dad, The Simpsons, and South Park did a great job transitioning from the original mediums that they were constructed in and into a more mixed digital effect for what they were trying to overall achieve. So, we've seen it move in the past to where people have gotten, good at things, and really took it to the next level. I think that's, just what we got to do. We got to work on it.
Yeah. So Patty said a comment about seeing AI help with manufacturing will make American jobs easier and products here cheaper without laying on child labor in foreign countries. Now, I have an opposite take kind of on this. I would rather see the AI and the robots get removed completely out of these factories so we can actually start hiring American workers again. Bring all the men back into the factories so that way we can actually have the jobs to be able to make these items because this is the issue I have is when you get rid when you replace the workforce with the robots and stuff, you may make something cheaper, but no one's going to be able to buy it because you got rid of the people who could afford it.
Well, there's a lack of productivity. I'm not opposed to utilizing machinery. Now, the problem that we're having in society, and the problem that I see with AI, if it were to be allowed to take over, would be, again, that unbalance of life, to the productivity, to the consumption ratio, right? We're upset that we cannot get the things that we need here. Like, our supply chains are down. We have a hard time, taking raw material and transforming it all the way through the process. It's at some point it's got to go outside of the country and come back in, because the truth of the matter, and you hit the nail on the head earlier, people are losing those skills. We don't have people who carve wood for a living. They do it for fun. We don't have cartoonists who are drawing, getting back to the animators and drawing in general, are going to make a series versus, doing like a Pixar type of production. Artists who weren't creative enough or strong enough artists to create their own series and have it greenlit by Big Fox, or, and put into a television series, get the jobs doing the menial artist renditions or just the overall drawing every single day, right? So there's work for every level of artist. It's finding where in the process you fit in, and being honest with yourself about your talents and your abilities, right?
Mhm. And the other thing I bring up with that is if you decide to go, like, say you have a where, like, let's say the warehouse I work at goes full automation, robots and all that. There's a robot that's stacking stuff on the pallets and loading the pallets into the trucks. Well, now here's the issue: when the robot breaks down, who comes to fix it? Because
Mhm.
how many people do you think are going to want to step up and train to be a robot mechanic? How many people do you think will have the wherewithal and know-how to be able to even be able to learn how to fix these weird robotic machinations that they want to introduce into our society? And like I see, like you also got all the freaking the McDonald's and the Wendy's and every other fast food store that has all the kiosks now. Instead of going to the front desk, like the freaking McDonald's near where I live, you can't access their soda fountain anymore. They hid it behind the counter.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we can't be trusted in society. And, as the boys are talking about, like you said, things breaking down, humans needing to fix it, and so on and so forth, a funny thought kind of crossed my mind. Once there are more robots than humans, and robots are just basically taking cues off of other robots, how long before the program de evolutionizes, right? Like, it just reverts back down to like calculator status, everything kind of comes full circle at the end. So if humans are so reliant upon robots that robots can no longer learn from humans, will robots eventually become stupid again?
That was actually so a show I listened to. They were talking about this in regards to the new phenomenon of AI dungeon masters in the tabletop hobby, where you don't even need to get a human to run your game. Players can just have an AI tell you what's going on, have it run the story that you want, and then they're thinking like at some point it's going to be, oh, it's going to be AI get dungeon masters running for AI bots, and then whatever game happens there, another AI bot's going to make a whole module book based around that, and then there's going to be another AI that makes the art for that. And it's going to be an AI generated PDF that the AI consumers, the AI players are going to buy for their AI DGMs to run. And so it's just one
Yeah.
big whole cycle.
Yeah, everybody assumes that technology is just going to continue to go up and up and up, ignoring the human input to create that upward trajectory. I'm just over here kind of like, are you sure it works that way? Because I think once you take the human element out of it, it's going to crash.
It reminds me of that Rick and Morty scene of the little camera robot that passes the butter and it's like, "What is my purpose? You already fulfilled it. Oh no!" And I think the robot ends up like just. I think the robot ends up offing itself. I think in later in the episode, I think because it's like, "This is all I have. I have nothing worth to live for."
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, that's where I see it going. And honestly, uh you could just, if the robots happen to take over, keep your hose on standby. That's all I'm gonna say.
Tell the chat bots thank you whenever they answer a question for you. Because that's the comic I see is the bot's about to kill a human. It's like, wait, he said thank you all the time. So
You
that's
are
what.
safe.
Yeah, I guess that is the big question: is do you think it's going to be a not really like not Civil War, but iRobot level of just Skynet takeover or something like that? You ever think it'll get to that at some point?
I don't think that they will gain the capacity. What I see is us losing the ability to make it function. You know, that de-evolution again. Being so reliant that we're so unable to do it. And you know, like just how we lose any skill. It just, you know, you stop messing with it and you forget how to do it.
Yeah, I, I, Ja- I like Jack's comment. Like I always have my hose on standby because I assume you were trying to say hose, but it did sound like you said hose. So
What's the difference?
there's some
Well,
hose in
one's
this
touch or
house. There's
one's
some
toast.
hose in this house.
Oh, but anyways. Oh, man. Oh, man. Yeah, no. We'll just leave that there. We'll cut it out.
I do like Jeff Frum's, like because it touched on what we talked about earlier. I do worry with AI as we as humans will lose skills and abilities because we got an AI to do something so very specialized. I consider Disney in this regard as it relates to its 2D animation. These new remakes they've released just this past year alone have been ridiculous. The worst of them all, not Snow White, the new live action Lilo and Stitch movie that they're working on.
Oh, I did not even hear of this. Oh, that's
Oh,
sad.
they made a basically it's a CGI Stitch, and I'm just sitting here like it was perfect as it was. Lilo and Stitch is such a Disney classic for millennial kids growing up, like me. That's how I fell in love with Elvis Presley as an artist was because of Lilo and Stitch. All those Elvis songs they had on the soundtrack,
Mm.
and now they want to bastardize it with a live action remake, and I'm just like, no, leave
Welcome
it
to the
alone.
club.
Welcome to the jungle,
You
baby.
know,
You're gonna die.
the noose meme first time.
Yeah, first time.
That's about where we are with that. You know, I'm really hoping that eventually we get a rival to Disney. We get a rival to these big box companies and in all regards. You know, that's why I'm here in the RPG community with you guys, watching you, trying to back you, trying to get the word out about what you guys are doing, because this is the future of entertainment. Legitimately, boys, this is taking everything into your own hands, stepping out on a limb and saying, hey, this is what I got, take it or leave it. And I think that you guys are really making a movement here. So, you know, I think you are the answer to AI, if I'm being real.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be releasing my first ever module for a game soon. It's called Wretched Dixie, and I did it for the Red Room Game Jam they did last year, and it's basically just how to run the Civil War game in the Wretched system. So you play as the Union, play as the Confederacy, throw some folklore in there because I literally have one adventure where when you confront John Wilkes Booth, he calls upon Cthulhu and he becomes an Eldritch Knight. And you have to fight
That's
him in that
awesome.
form.
I love it. I freaking love it. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's nothing too crazy. It was just because I've never made anything before. I wanted to try my hand at it, and so I just made. It's like a 15-page thing right now. I gotta do some editing because I had Patty look over it because I wanted some fresh eyes to look at it to make sure I didn't do anything too crazy. But I got other ideas of stuff that I wanted to do, and then like there's other guys like I know like Patty has made modules for all sorts of games, and he's got games he's making in the works. And then we actually were talking like not too long ago. We need to try to get you in a game with us
Yeah.
sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the kids are getting, getting ready to get out of the house, but unfortunately, with politics, everybody knows that it's a full-time job, and I kind of stepped
Yeah.
into the local GOP and the elections board and everything else. So unfortunately, it's almost like not having time. But I'm hoping one day that I can, join everybody. And, I missed the Gobstein thing, which I'm really sad about because you just make it look so much fun that I'm like, man, I got to go play politics with the people.
Yeah, well, we actually there's a game that me and Patty both play and enjoy. It's called Horde Wars, and it does focus a lot about like domain play. So it's like running the area, governorship, and all that, being like nobles and all that. So that's a big one that would really focus on that kind of gameplay if that's what you would like to do. And
Oh,
yeah,
I'm down for anything.
Patty says I should expand on Dixie. I just don't know how much I want to expand on it for because it was just a simple thing I wanted to do. Be like, hey, here's some simple rules to run if you want to do a Civil War game with your
Yeah.
buddies. Because that was
Well,
actually
that's the
inspired.
potential.
Yeah, well, that was inspired by my eighth grade history teacher because Civil War week for history was always his favorite time of the week. He actually would dress up as a Union soldier and teach in that, and we would go to the Pea Ridge battlefield here in Arkansas because we had that
Nice.
as well.
Very nice.
So
Yeah. Well, that's I think not very many people are looking into that type of history. Everybody wants to do something exciting and exotic, like the Assassin's Creed went into the Eastern Bloc history with the, Shaolin monk or whatever the heck they made that guy. You've got a lot of people that want to dip into the medieval lore. But that right there, I think, is a great premise because not only do you have the opportunity to create something that's different that nobody else really has done before, but you're teaching people stuff too. And that's,
yeah.
that hits me in the feels.
No. No, Patty suggested I need more cryptids. Well, Richard RPG already has its own bestiary book that literally has an entire chapter just about cryptids in all the states.
Oh, wow. Wow, that would be
Yeah,
really cool. Yeah. It just dawned
yeah,
on me how awesome that would be. Yeah, that's really fun.
yeah. Because I did like one adventure was actually I did one that was based on the Pea Ridge battlefield where
Mhm.
depending on which side you play on, it's either you're the Union and you find out that the Confederacy has captured the Gorau, which was a local folklore creature here in Arkansas, or you're the Confederacy and you're capturing the Gorau to go fight the Union with. And then
I want that.
the second adventure I had was it doesn't matter which side you're on. You're in Gettysburg. You disturb the den of the Dogmen, and now they're coming to join the fight.
Oh my. See, that's got lots of potential. You've got so many different things to pick from, and kids need that. It's one of the best things about sitting down to play a game, any type of game, whether it be your Monopoly, your Game of Life, your RPGs, or card games. My husband's a huge card gamer, so we play a lot of
Yeah,
like basic
and to it,
cards.
yeah, and to answer Jack's question really quick, I'm 32 years old. I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river. I've been every time someone asks me that
R.I.P.
question
Chris
now, that's how
Farley.
I answer. Yep, I live in an RV, just out here, just in where I live, and I'm not too far away from my parents, so I get to see them every now and then too. So, what in the
Nice.
Patty? I will have to look at that. I don't know if actually, yeah, I can look it on my phone real quick, see what that is. What did you send me? What did you send me? You filthy leprechaun! Oh, I forgot about this.
Uh-oh.
WotC released a new. It's like a 5.2 SRD license because they're trying to get people to get on the bandwagon and to try to release games underneath their deal. And I don't know how much of the news you kept up with this, but two of the last old guard of WotC, Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford. Jeremy
Gone.
Crawford was yeah, they're gone. Well, Jeremy Crawford, the rumor is that he resigned, as in like the phrase is either you leave on your terms or you leave on our terms, basically. Because Jeremy Crawford was also, I think he was the token gay for WotC, if what I've heard was correctly. Because I heard he was married to a man. I think I
There
could be
was
wrong.
there was rumors that the presentation that I watched on the matter was that the boys were done a while ago, that this was always kind of the time that they thought that they were going to ride into the sunset and pass the torch on, but they stayed to help with the 50th anniversary. And then after that was all done, they were like, you know what? It's too much. And the reason it looks so suspicious is because of all of the, and you guys know way more than I do. Like I said, I just happened to catch it in passing. And from what I understand, the issue is, like you said, the bickering amongst the individuals about things that don't really matter, right?
So I think this is the part that Patty wanted me to point out to, and this is part of the reason. This is basically OG scandal over again. It says, by posting or submitting any user content to or through the websites, games, or services, you hereby irrevocably grant to Wizards a worldwide, perpetual, irrevocable, royalty-free, non-exclusive, and fully sub-licensable license to use, reproduce, modify, adapt, publish, translate, create derivative works from, distribute, perform, and display such user content in any media, and to incorporate the user content into. So basically, they're just saying that we get your shit.
Oh, yeah, don't send us your stuff or we're going to use it. Yeah.
And this was the issue with the OGL scandal too. The new version they wanted to release was, yeah, we get the rights to it and more of the profit.
Well, when you lose your top two creators, you are running pretty low on talent, and you're going to take anything that comes your way if you want to continue to stay in business, right?
Yeah, and I've been saying, because my thing that I've been sharing, and every now and then I'll share. I have this AI generate picture I shared. It's a dragon with its head cut off. It's wearing a blue wizard hat, but it's got a sword going through both the wizard hat and the dragon head.
Oh,
and
sad.
and it goes with the hashtag, but no, it goes with the hashtag death to D&D. It's the death. It's the death of the wizard and the dragon. The dragon being representing D&D, the hat representing Wizards of the Coast. Because I
Mm.
believe this is now going. We are now the downward spiral for Dungeons and Dragons. I don't think. I don't think if they do, they're going to maybe release a few things for 5.5e, which I prefer to a 6e because it's nothing like 5th edition, and there may be other third party material that people may make for it. But I think in a couple years' time, it's just going to go away. Hasbro may just hold on to it. I don't know if they'll ever think about selling it to anyone or not. They may. I don't. I just think we're going. It's going the downward spiral because Shadow Dark just did finished a brand new Kickstarter and got over $2 million on it, beating the Kickstarter for the original core rulebook.
Yeah, that's what Patty was just saying. If they skim your stuff, how do you fight to say that this is your property? And that's extremely dangerous for anybody right now, with how easy it is to, like you said, just take something that you submitted, and you didn't read the fine print before you entered the game jam or before you shared your designs in Discord, or just tried to bounce it off of a somebody. Thankfully you and Patty are close, but just say you wanted to get somebody's opinion on something and it's not copyrighted yet. I think that every artist should be aware of your local copyrights, the processes that you have to go to in order to license any products that you plan on making money off of, any intellectual ideas that you want to trademark. Put the money into that, and protect what you develop from the ground up, and be careful with that, because there are grifters out here that are going to take it and make a buck.
Mhm. Yeah, because I mean that kind of ties back to the IP issue you were talking about. Is if someone takes your IP for anything, how do you try to fight that in regards to AI purposes and stuff? And it's the same thing with this. Is if you are trying to make a content for something, but then you didn't, like you said, didn't read the fine print. Now this company owns it all.
And that's
And
that's very common practice. I mean, extremely common. I remember early 2000s, when the band Corn did Thoughtless. They came out with the single Thoughtless. They actually did a request of the fan base to write a script for the music video. But if you went into the actual contest rules and everything, you weren't going to like get the royalties from the song, right? So every time that the music video were to play, Korn and the production company and the people that made the video would get the royalties over and over again. You would just get the blessing of knowing that you helped, write this music video, and whatever prize came out of it. But people don't think about that, especially now when you're talking about like songs and things that are over 30, 50 years old. The people that would be making the commissions or royalties off of these things, their estates are there, their children are there, but how much is it worth, really? Back when the art was produced, it had a certain value. 50 years later, that value, you've really got to put that into perspective. I mean, how many times have you heard about being copyright stricken on YouTube for playing the radio in the background, or, just having something on the television, a advertisement for a commercial in the background, and they copyright strike you. So, royalties and everlasting property like music and art and those sorts of things, we have to find a way to keep them tangible if we want to continue to make revenue, right?
hmm So another $2 Rumble rant from the man Jeff from Denkar. WotC are nothing more than vultures trying to scavenge scraps from the hobby to cover their failures. How long before they rely on AI for most D&D product production, art, and writing? I think they're already heading down that path. I
Now,
mean,
now.
with how they keep firing everyone, with their virtual tabletop design going not succeeding again, because this was the second time they tried to create a virtual tabletop and failed doing it. Like, they released it for like a beta test, no one liked it, and then they just fired the whole team
Yeah.
basically, and they're still letting people go, which means they're not going to have as many good designers, which means they're going to rely more heavily on AI art and writing probably. But the problem with that is the people who are quote unquote anti AI that get onto like the independent creators for it, they're not going to care about WotC doing that, because that's again, this is the biggest issue: is Dungeons and Dragons is all people have ever known. It's like we have this whole tape, we have all these different games. I literally have a container sitting by my side right here of just the books I more constantly use. Shelves up here full of books, storage under my table full of books, and people still just want D&D.
It's familiar. It's the original, and I think that again it goes back to that learned behavior, right? So because it's so familiar, that's what everybody played, and the only combat to that is getting out and making more friends and making more tables and playing new games, right?
Yeah, I mean, and this is also why I also said this is another reason why Shadow Dark became so popular. Was not just it was not only released when the OGL scandal happened. It uses a lot of 5e mechanics as well. So when
Mhm.
WotC decided to do what they did, people wanted to leave. People wanted to not give more money to WotC, but they still wanted to play 5e. So Shadow Dark was that 5e alternative for them, because for them that's still like 5e, but they're not giving money to WotC. They're giving it to someone else who's more worthy.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's the kicker.
to Jeff from Dead because they were talking about Castles of Crusades, which is actually the main company for that is actually here in Arkansas, in the capital of Little Rock. And
Dang
they
it.
were talking about that. And Jeffrey was talking about how he would love to have Castles of Crusades, but he can't get to Canada. To which I say, Jeffrey, don't worry, you'll be the 51st state soon enough.
Woo, that's a spicy meatball. Hot take, Hunter.
I say, yeah, make Canada the 51st state, and at this point, let's go ahead and make Mexico the 52nd. At this point,
Yeah, yeah, well, we put down, crusading a long time ago, and maybe that's why the male populace is so hungry for adventure and, exploration because, we stopped acquiring land a long time ago, and the only way to do it now is in your own world, so, get out there and
yeah.
make 'em.
What? Well, there's a DLC for the third Assassin's Creed game. It's called The Tyranny of King Washington, and it's an alternate kind of timeline DLC where instead of how the American Revolution went down, George Washington got a hold of the I think it's like an apple of Eden, which gives you like this crazy powers, and he becomes like the king of America. And it gets to a point where towards like, and he's like going all out, like wiping out the British armies that were there, like just wiping them out. And it got to a point where at what towards the end of the game, he's actually preparing to take ships to the UK to take the battle to them.
Oh,
And when
wow.
I think of, and when I think about where we are now and where the UK is now, I sit back and I think of that game and I think the American Revolution ended too soon. We should have kept going.
Yeah, it's funny, the way that we're rewriting history now, I would not be surprised if it would be so easy to confuse individuals now and write something as a satirical impression of what you think a situation is, or turn a situation on its head, and people to actually take it at face value or think that it were to happen. So, I guess at this stage of the game, I'm kind of glad that we aren't doing that yet. Maybe we'll reach a level where everybody's kind of a little bit more aware of, irony and satire and humor.
Yeah, like well, you were talking about the satire, and I'm just thinking, how many times has the Babylon Bee made a satire article that like a week later is like becomes an actual news article because it actually happened?
Yeah, Patty said, not to be contrarian, but I really do think you're doing a big service to those other indie games by saying their names specifically. Bring it to the surface level awareness. And Jack
Yeah,
said, we're still fighting the revolution. I just want to make sure that we didn't miss those because that's a good
yeah.
point. Patty's right.
Hmm.
Things don't spread unless you talk about them. And even if I'm not familiar with something, if I hear it often enough, I go make myself familiar. So I agree. I think repetition is the key here.
Yeah. So it's funny because my position, kind of where I am in this hobby space, is I'm somehow like on this middle line. It's like I'm not on one side or the other, like because I'm friends with people that don't like each other. Like there's people that I'm friends with that Patty doesn't like, and there's people that I'm friend that I because again I'm friends with Patty and I'm friends with those other people too. And it's just crazy because it's like I don't let other people like dictate for me who I can interact with and who I cannot interact with. I will make that decision on my own. And if something comes out and I find out that person is not who they say they are, then I will make my own decision on that regard. I mostly chalk it down to if that person hasn't done me wrong, I see no reason to do them dirty. Now, I've had plenty of people who have done me dirty that I have been petty with because they did me dirty. And then there's crazies out there that I just say, nope, do your thing, stay away from me.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry. Oof.
absolutely. No, you're absolutely fine. I was gonna say YouTubing and VTubing and all of this is such treacherous waters. Sometimes
Yeah.
drama makes for good content, other times it's very detrimental to the cause. But I've always been a firm believer that there's no such thing as bad press. So as long as you don't call me late for dinner, call me whatever you want.
Yep. That was right. Call me whatever you like as long as it's not late for dinner.
That's
That's
right.
a yeah. And then no, I was listening to an episode, Brett Cooper's newest episode earlier today, and she
Mhm.
said something because she was talking about how like how because of the world is people have been trying to go to like they've been trying to look up to like celebrities and like spiritual leaders and stuff to try to figure out what to do with their life. And then the quote she said, she read from an article, but the quote that this she said was, "We get so burned by everything and everyone that it gets to the point where we see the ashes as salvation."
Mm, that's rough. That's rough. Yeah,
Yeah, and that,
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to take that as, huh?
yeah, but it just made me think about like all the junk that I see and like I read about just going on with the hobbies and then just out in the world as well. And it's like, so I'm like, yes, we could burn anything down, but I'm not seeing the salvation in the ashes.
I think that I don't know if it's salvation is the word that I would use. I would say the hope because once there is removal of the past, there's room for a future, especially if the old space has been used to the fullest extent. And I guess the best way to describe that is, especially down here in Georgia, right around this time of year before the crops go into the ground, everybody's burning and scorching the earth and kind of getting it ready again for the new growing season, the new, harvest season. So, there is something to burning things down in order to make way for the new, but you want to do it in a constructive fashion that will make the ground fertile to grow.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I also think at the same time, like if you remove the past, you don't have anything to learn for the future to learn the mistakes from because you don't want to repeat those past mistakes, and that's something that we keep on doing. We keep repeating mistakes of the past sometimes, and we just don't seem to learn sometimes.
That's because we're burning our memory, not just the foundation. Like I said, back to the space. We don't want to lose the space in our brains that reminds us that fire's hot and it burns. We shouldn't touch it. But,
Hmm.
we wanna put the fire out. We don't want it to consume everything. We wanna keep it controlled. So I don't know if that's a good
Yes,
analogy.
yes. That control will be when AI becomes the Skynet and becomes our supreme overlords.
Jack asked a little question about the background in Wicca. I am eclectic in nature. I kinda pull from a little bit of everything. So I'm not very staunch, supporter of a particular line. We're pretty open-ended over here.
Yeah. Patty says he may have to bid farewell, which I think we're probably about to bid farewell to in a minute. We've gone about an hour and a half now. We went from
Wow.
AI and then went to like spiritual crisis. So
Yeah. Well, it's all tied together, right? And you know
yeah,
what? Just
exactly.
big shout out to the chat. You guys are freaking awesome. You rock. Jack and, Patty and, Jeff, and
Yep.
there's one more I think in there that I don't wanna miss.
Uh, I think it was just those three. I did a couple messages just saying hi to people in the chat because for some
Okay.
reason it has not been appearing at all on my end in the
Everywhere.
studio. So I've been having to read it off my phone. So I don't know why Rumble Studio does that to me. It's been like that all the time. Every time I try to be on here. So it's ridiculous.
Ugh. It's getting better. Again, I do like the updates in Rumble Studio. They're a little bit behind on updating the actual host, but it's coming up a lot from where it was. So I can't complain too much.
All right. And so if you want to follow my amazing friend, the Wicked Conservative here, I posted all her links are in the description of this video below, where you can follow her here on Rumble, on X, and on YouTube as well, because she'll live stream to both. Probably within the next week. It'll probably be sometime next week, because I'm only live streaming the Rumble right now. But after Easter is over, I will upload this video to YouTube as well, so you can find it there as well. And so my X and YouTube links are down below as well. And so just yeah, if you're watching this, and you haven't followed either one of us, give us a follow. And thank you
Hit the
again,
like
Jeffrem, for the Rumble
button.
Reds. I really appreciate that. I usually don't make a big deal. That too, hit the like button and share this with all your friends and family. And I don't usually make a big deal about the Rumble Ramps. I'm appreciative for it, but as also I'm thinking about like because I pay for like my the basic premium on X, and it's only even though it's only $11, it's still something out of my pocket. So the fact that people are still willing to want to even give me their own bread, heck, that's like a big thank you in my pocket for being able to still keep on doing what I'm doing because I wouldn't be doing this without all of you. So,
That's right. Thank you for everybody again for hanging out, and yeah, hit the like and share button
all right, everyone, you have a good night and make sure you tell Grok thank you after he answers your question.
for your own safety.
Good night.
Good night.